in child protective services, and they won't give them back to their loving families because they're making money.
This is a legal system that you're going into. And if you don't know the rules, you will be chewed up and spit out.
If I could say anything to a mother who just got their children detained, you're in a crisis. Yeah. Life feels like it's over. The most important thing is regaining custody of your children.
The child welfare system at its core is designed to protect children who need protection. Okay, and that's key, is who need protection.
So social workers, out of fear, will remove more children rather than only remove those children that truly need to be removed.
It's okay. It's okay.
This isn't someone stole your car. Someone broke into your house. This someone took your child, your flesh and blood.
It doesn't say on this order that it was not proven. It says untrue. True. I immediately knew that, okay, well, this ain't over.
Were there signs there? Were there no signs? Did I miss them? Did I catch them? At this point, I honestly don't know.
Families only get a finite amount of time to reunify.
I came into this field to help families, not destroy them.
The difference between the criminal system and the child welfare system is substantial. You have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm your host, Sabrina. This is Fight CPS with Sabrina. I'm your host today. Hi, Caesar. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
All right. So you have a story for us.
I definitely do.
All right. I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay. It's been going on for quite a while, and it's been pretty hard dealing with this. My daughter's 7 years old, and I've never been away from her for more than a few days, and it's going on 3 months now. And it all has to do with CPS and with the lawyers. And
do you want to go ahead and start at the beginning, like why CPS stepped in the first place?
Sure.
Okay.
So in the beginning, me and my ex got together probably close to 10 years ago, and she was getting out of a divorce with this man, and this man's just been a nightmare to me, to her, to the children. Really a narcissist, a malignant one at that. And so what's been going on is he's called CPS on me like 5 times for no reason. He started telling everybody at the daughter's school that I was a sexual predator when she was about 2 or 3 years old. And all this stuff that's been going on. He started talking to the principals at the school, all her friends, all the parents, everybody trying to spread this rumor. And what actually happened is me and my ex, we were cooking dinner, and we had already been going out for some time. And me and the little girl, we were like, we were bonded. We were very close. And so she would follow me everywhere. And she was a toddler. I went into the bathroom. I closed the door, but I didn't lock it. And she busted in. But I wasn't even facing her. I was facing the wall. She didn't see anything. And this guy starts questioning her. And so from there on, I had immediately called my ex to come and get her. From that moment on, it just turned into he's a sexual predator. He's a sexual predator. So I got cleared from CPS 5 times already. Then we tried to have a birthday party for his little girl. He called in a bomb threat. Everybody had to leave. He's poked my tires out about 9 times, and it just a whole bunch of stuff. And so, anyways, about 6 months ago, me and my ex, everything was going fine. We were like reconciling, and I thought things were going great. And then from one day to the next, she just, I don't know, started acting cold, and this guy came along, and he's like back in her life, and I'm getting like shoved out of her life, and just all these weird things started happening. And then like 3 months later, I get served with papers for custody court. And so to get down to the CPS, there's a lot of other stuff that happened, but to get down to the CPS issue is my daughter brought home her iPad one day, and she wanted me to make room for a game. There wasn't enough room, so I downloaded it to iTunes, and I'm looking through the files to see what I delete, and I start seeing these naked pictures of their daughter. They have a daughter together, and she's about 11 years old. And I see text messages between him and her, and the text messages saying, "Why are you taking these pictures? This is inappropriate." And he's just laughing it off. And then I start seeing just a whole bunch of texts between her and other guys and all this stuff. And so I start questioning her about it. She gets all mad, and then boom, I try to go pick. She keeps me away from my daughter for like 2 weeks. I don't get to see her. When I finally do pick her up, she is completely emotionally abused. Like, she's afraid of me. She is cussing. A completely different kid. Like, I was like, what's going on? What's wrong with you? And so I didn't know what it was at the time until I started doing more research on narcissism and all this.
That's what it sounds like. Yep.
Yeah. So it was parental alienation, parental gatekeeping. And this had happened to her daughter, her other daughter, for 2 years. And I was forced to get kicked out of the house because she started hating me and her and everything. So to get down to CPS, I called CPS. I called CPS on this guy. And I go to the school one day to pick her up, and she's there. My ex is there, and she's blocking me. She won't let me leave. And HISD police, the Houston Police Department, show up, and they're like, "Okay, well, who dropped off the kid?" And I was like, "I did." "Okay, well, she gets to go home with you." But she kept on blocking. All of a sudden, CPS magically out of nowhere calls the school and says, "No, she has to go with her mom." So I'm like, okay, the police weren't letting me do anything. So I go, the next day I go and I pick her up early, and I'm like, I got to get her to a therapist. I got to see what's going on. So I made the big mistake. My daughter was like, "Can we stop by mom's house to pick up my iPad?" And I shouldn't have gone by, but I went by anyways, because I thought maybe I could talk to her. Maybe, I could find out what's going on. So right away she was like, "No, she's staying here. You can't go." And she started blocking me and pushing me out of the way, and I put my kid in the car. And while this is all going on, we've got a struggle going on. She takes my car keys, she takes my apartment keys, everything. And then magically CPS shows up, and she doesn't show me a badge, she doesn't show me ID. She comes, gets out of her car, which is, I'm not trying to say anything bad about CPS, but she was driving like a $60,000, brand new Ford Explorer with fully loaded. And I was just like, okay, that doesn't sound right. So she gets out of the car. And again, maybe she has another job on the side or whatever, but she gets out of the car and she goes inside and talks to my ex. She comes back outside and talks to me for 15 minutes. That's it. And the whole time she's telling me, "I got to hurry up with you because I got to get to another family." And I'm like, "Well, you're dealing with my family now. Like,
yeah,
I'm trying to tell you what's going on." So I started telling her about this guy and naked pictures. And I told her also when I found those pictures and text messages, I had told my daughter, I said, "Hey, what's going on?" She said that the guy has FaceTimed with the daughter naked. She said that he grabs her and picks up my daughter and won't let go and tells him to stop, and he won't stop. that he gets really close to her face, her face. And I'm just thinking, okay, that's it. So I've told my ex millions of times about this. So I'm telling the CPS worker all this stuff, and she's hurrying me up. And she goes, okay, I'm going to go talk to her. So she goes inside. Mind you, my ex still has my keys. I can't leave. She still has my apartment keys, everything. So I'm there, and they're inside, and they're talking for over an hour. And I'm like, I thought you had to leave in 15 minutes. So I'm knocking on the door. I'm banging on the door. I'm ringing the doorbell, and I'm asking for my keys because I want to leave. Well, about 30, 45 minutes later, the police show up, and they start saying that I'm harassing her. And so they handcuff me, and they put me in the back of the cop car. And when the CPS lady comes out, oh, and then her ex-husband shows up. And he's smiling and making faces. We had gone to court against him 10 years ago when she was breaking up with him. And they found him guilty, and they found that he brought everything maliciously, and they put a huge judgment on him. And he hasn't paid child support in over 10 years. So anyways, she comes out, and I'm handcuffed in the back of the cop car, and she says, oh, you need to go get a mental health evaluation, or you're going to go to jail. You need to sign these papers. And I'm like, I'm not signing that. I'm not, what are you talking about, a mental health? Why do I need a mental health evaluation? So finally, the police let me go. They didn't have enough to hold me. And I start calling her. And I had to leave. My daughter stayed there. I start calling the CPS worker every day for the next 3 weeks. She won't return my calls. She doesn't, nothing, no communication whatsoever. And finally, she tells me, oh, you need to go here. She calls me after 3 weeks. She goes, you need to go here and get your mental health evaluation. And I said, no. I said, if I have to go somewhere, I said, I'm a veteran. I'm going to go to the VA. I'm not going to go where you tell me to go.
Very smart.
Yeah. I'm like, she goes, no, it's not going to be valid. You have to go here. So me and her got in a huge argument. And I called back and I said, hey, you know what? I said, you never showed me your badge. You never showed me ID. Like, all this sounds very fishy. So I said, where are your offices? So she tells me where her office is. And I said, I'm going down there. And she goes, no, you can't come down here. You can't come down here. And she goes, I can put my supervisor on the phone. I said, no, I'll see you both when I get there. Mm-hmm. So I get there. They can't find her anywhere. And about 20 minutes, 30 minutes pass by. I'm waiting. They're trying to find, even nobody knows where these offices are. They're supposedly on the 3rd floor. She comes in through the front door. And I'm like, why didn't she come down the elevator? Why is she coming through the front door? So she comes through the front door and she takes me to a little office on the bottom floor. Won't go take me to the CPS office. And she says, I'm here to address your concerns. I'm here to take your statement. And I'm like, but you already took my statement. I said, what was those 15 minutes for? I said, you haven't done nothing on this guy? She goes, you need to go get a mental health evaluation. That's what you need to do first. I said, I'm not going to do that. And I said, for any little reason, you're going to tell me, oh, he's distraught or he's upset or he's too emotional or something, and keep her away from me. And they keep pushing me to go get this mental health evaluation at this one location. It's got to be there. And it's a private, firm or clinic. And from what I hear, it's expensive. I'm like, that's pretty odd. Like, CPS doesn't do that. And the whole time I'm asking her, I said, can you show me your ID, your badge? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, why not? I said, you're supposed to. Yeah. Said, no, I don't have to. And I said, yes, you do. And so she won't show me the badge. I try to keep talking to her about this guy. And then she just starts getting irate and says, you know what? We're done here. And she tells me to leave. I don't hear from her for another 3 weeks. I'm calling and I'm talking to her and nothing. Finally, another week goes by, and that's when I started posting stuff on YouTube. And I started finding more information and more stuff in these files. And remember I said that she had taken my keys. Well, the cops had given me my car keys, but they didn't take my apartment keys. They didn't give those back, or my mailbox keys. So I came home and I had all these files on my laptop, and I'm trying to get into my laptop and I can't, and something's wrong with it. So I flip it over, the hard drive's gone. Somebody had broken into my apartment, took out the hard drive, and then when I started looking at the files, they're all corrupted, they're all encrypted, and they got different file extensions. And so I had found out that one of these guys that was associated with the father is a computer hacker, like a super hacker. He boasts about his ninja computer skills. And I saw that number on my daughter's iPad and I questioned her about it. And she said, I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know what's going on. And then so I did a background search on the guy online, and he had all these different addresses he lived at, and they sounded so familiar. So I found out that, found out that these addresses were actually on my GPS car, and I had taken a screenshot, and I was like, why is she lying to me about this guy? So anyways, like I said, it's been over a month and a half, going on 2 months. About 2 weeks ago, maybe about a week and a half ago, finally get a call, because I've been doing all this. I've been posting online. I've been trying to get the word out. I've been trying to get on the news, and I get blocked everywhere I go. So I guess they started figuring out, hey, this guy won't stop. And I get a call saying, hey, we're closing out your case. And I said, oh, really? So now I'm fine. After I haven't talked to you, she never came to my apartment. She never saw anything, nothing. I only spoke to this lady like a few times. And all this is entered into the court. So the court is blocking me. I try to go pick up my kid from school, and I can't. The principal there is telling me, oh no, CPS says everything's the legal right. You can't even be on the school premises. So I got kicked out. And I haven't seen my daughter, and then they put in this new Band-Aid order. So CPS calls me and says, okay, we're closing out the case. And I said, so do I still have to get a mental health evaluation? No, we're not requiring you to do that at this time. I'm like, okay. So I said, okay, that's great. I said, but why has this been handled the way it is? I said, I want some clarification so that this doesn't happen to anybody else. And I said, I've been calling this lady, and they said, well, if you have a problem, you could call Consumer Relations. So I did. I filed a complaint. And my main concern was, okay, so what about this guy? I said, let's get back and let's, do an investigation on this guy.
Yeah.
Nothing. I don't get a call, nothing. I start looking at these phone numbers that they gave me, because when I had talked to the original CPS worker, her number came up as something else, a different name. And I said, do you know your caller ID is this different name? And she says, oh, it's the phone system here. Well, no, it's not. It belongs to an actual guy named this name. And then I started looking at all the other ones, and they're all registered. All the phone numbers are registered to somebody else. So I don't know what the hell is going on. And they won't let me go in. So I said, I'm going to go back to this place where the CPS office is and try to find this lady and find out what's going on. So I go down there, and the minute I set foot in there, some guy comes down, like they knew. Some guy comes down and says, you're banned from here. You can't be here. And I'm like, why? I said, I'm just trying to find out what's going on with this case. Nothing. I can't get to anybody. I get kicked out of there. I get a letter that says, oh, you're not allowed at these offices or you're going to get arrested. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And all this is going on. I get a whole group of police officers that come in here and mental health workers, and they're all like, they're trying to check my status. And I'm like, I'm not crazy. I said, this is what's going on. And I said, I can't get through to anybody, and nobody wants to help me. Nobody wants to do anything. So I go down to another CPS office, and they gave me a different set of phone numbers, and I call the other day and I said, who's investigating this matter? Because I called in again and made another report. I said, who's investigating this matter? Well, guess what? They put the same lady that I'm filed a complaint on, the one that told me I had to get a mental health evaluation, they put her on the case. And I've called her and requested information. She won't call me. She won't return my phone calls, nothing. So I'm like, okay, they're either corrupt and they're protecting this guy, or maybe she's not even real. And so while this is all going on, right, CPS is telling me,
You're breaking up just a little bit here. Hello?
you hear?
You're breaking up pretty badly. Let's give it a few seconds here and see if it fixes itself. It kind of paused on me. Let's see. Ragdoll is saying, my worker gave my ex-husband his cell phone number and excluded me. I couldn't reach him for the life of me. Oh, there you go. You're back. I was just reading what Ragdoll was saying, which I'll get back to. Go ahead with what you were saying.
So right before I had gotten cleared and everything, there was a new motion filed in court, a Band-Aid order. And I had already been communicating with, or trying to communicate with the judge of the case through Facebook Messenger, because that was the only thing I could do. Every time I sent an email, because they had blocked me from seeing the judge the first time because they redirected my emails. And then I was able to get on the Zoom hearing, but all I did was log on, and then they put us in a breaker room. We talked for a while. Nothing got settled. We were going to go see the judge, and I'm there waiting in the room, and she goes away and he goes away. And I'm like, where did they go? And I'm like, they're trying to go talk to the judge without me. And I'm trying to find the room. I'm calling and texting them, and they won't answer. They won't, tell me where it is. 45 minutes passed. The hearing's over. They had blocked me, and they went to go talk to the judge themselves. And that's when I got another order. So I haven't seen the judge at all. Not one time. There's already been 3 hearings. And every time that there's a hearing or something, I get blocked, or my emails get redirected, or I don't know what's going on. And so this Band-Aid order, right, is now saying what they did was, instead of going with that judge, they went with the presiding judge, the associate judge, that didn't know anything about the case, didn't know what was going on. So they presented this stuff and said all this stuff and made the sob story. And so they reinstituted that I need to get a mental health evaluation. And now that I need to get a drug test and a hair follicle test, which is not a problem. I don't do any drugs, but the mental health evaluation, they're pushing me to get it at this same place.
Of course.
Like, it has to be at this place. And I'm like, no, like, why can't I do it somewhere else? And I'm posting online that they're just making, these lawyers watch too much of that TV show Bull, and they think they can just play all these little tricks and do all this little stuff and just get away with whatever. But what concerns me the most is that there was an actual CPS agent that went there to the court for the Band-Aid order. And I want to know who it is. I thought I was already cleared. So why would there be somebody else going there and talking to this judge that doesn't know anything about the case? So they're just trying to trick their way in. And for what reason? I don't know. What I've gathered from the messages that I was able to download is that they were getting back together, or they were going to get remarried or something. Because when I went on the district clerk's website, this guy hadn't paid the child support in over 10 years. All of a sudden, they had gone back to court like 3 other times. And there was all these new things that happened. And I asked her about it, and she goes, oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry about And so I'm like, okay. So I start finding little stuff and piecing stuff together. And I think the main reason that they're trying to keep me away from my kid is because they don't want me to talk to my kid and find out what's going on. Because if I start asking my kid, hey, what's going on? Who's been at the house? What are these cars doing there? What's going on? My daughter's going to tell me, and they don't want that to happen. So I think that's the main thing. And I'm pretty sure what they're planning on doing is selling their house, moving away, and they're trying to take my kid away from me, is what it seems like, is what I'm getting, gut feeling about. And I've seen texts that kind of lead to that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm in now. And still to this day, CPS hasn't called me back. There hasn't been any investigation on this guy. I tried to call the police and talk to them about it. Oh, that's another thing. I think the guy has some police in his pocket, because I went to go pick up my daughter one time. Supposedly he was babysitting. I called the police to come in and get my child out of his house. They go and they look around. They said, nobody's here. So I told him, can you investigate this CPS worker, or can you tell me anything about her? And I had her business card and I gave it to him, and he went to go check her out. He says, look, best thing you can do is get yourself a lawyer and go talk to the judge and find out. So I was like, all right. So I drive off. Not even 3 minutes later, I drive back, because I had left them with the business card that looks fake. It looks completely fake. It looks like it was printed from a cheap printer. And I go back, and he's there talking to the guy. The cop is still there, and now he's talking to the guy that he said wasn't there. And I'm just watching all this happen, and I'm like, that's crazy. Now, the guy is a narcissist, so he's very manipulative, and he can convince you of anything, because that's what narcissists do.
Yeah.
And they make themselves out to be the victim, and they're just playing you this whole time.
I really wish that there would be more light towards narcissists and, child alienation and everything that comes with narcissism. I really think that they need to do something about it in the court system to, show that this is actually a thing that's happening, because it's happening to so many people.
Yeah, exactly. And the emotional abuse that goes on, the parental alienation, the parental gatekeeping, I see that. I saw that in my daughter. I saw that in the other daughter, in their daughter. And nobody, I had talked to a CPS worker one time, and that had come to investigate me. And I told her, I said, this is what's going on. She said, the courts aren't going to care about that. They're not going to, it's very hard to prove and all this. And I'm like, I got proof. Like, there was a therapist that they were seeing, and the therapist even said, hey, this guy's a narcissist. This guy's crazy. And my ex has even told me, yeah, he's a narcissist. But they also brainwash their victims. They get them to start acting like them. And she started acting exactly like him. I mean, even saying the same phrases, the same words, everything that he would act like, she started doing. So,
like a brainwash.
At the moment, because I'm like, is she a victim? Has she been brainwashed? Is she just doing this, following his lead, or does she actually feel this way? And why would she come at me so hard? And why take away my kid? But you're right. Like, it's a huge problem. They don't take, that a person is has a narcissistic personality disorder, and they don't understand that it's a very dangerous thing.
That's very much so.
Abuse that it does on a child. And I told the CPS worker, I said, all of a sudden I'm cleared. I said, do you know how much harm you've done to my daughter?
Yeah.
I said, you just ripped me out of her life when I've been there every day. I said, what do you think is going on in her mind, in her self-esteem? Right. Where's my dad? He just left me. He abandoned me. Right. I can't talk to her. I can't do anything. And because of that, before this, I couldn't even see her at all. Now they put in a Band-Aid order and said, okay, you could talk to her for 30 minutes on Zoom once a Saturday.
Yeah, because you're still dad, and you still have rights if they haven't taken them away from you, I mean, what's crazy to me about this whole thing is I cannot believe that they're not looking into this, all these emails and all this stuff going on with the other girl. And Like, that's
Right.
really alarming, and they don't care about that. They're still just focused on you, and that's crazy.
I don't know what the deal is, and I've sent all this stuff. I've posted it online so I could try to get the word out there to investigate this guy, and nothing's being done. Nothing has been done. I don't get any calls back. They have hacked my phone. I've had to get 4 different phones in the past 2 months. I've changed out the SIM card 5 times. I've posted where it says my phone's been hacked. T-Mobile has told me, hey, we've never seen this before. Your phone's been hacked like almost every day. And even today, I got hacked. And I post it every time. It says that my phone that I got 3 different phones, that my phone's been cloned. The first time it was at his house. I was able to see on Find My Device, it was at his house. And ever since then, it's been over here and it's been over there. I don't know, but why hasn't anybody looked into it? Why hasn't HPD, after I've posted this and talked to them, and I've been down there and made plenty of reports. I got like 6 reports that I've made about the breaking and entering, about everything that's going on, and nothing. No response from HPD. No response from anybody. Nobody's investigated. Nobody's done anything. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what this guy did to get it, people in his pocket, or what he's holding against them, or what, but something's very fishy is going on. I mean, that's enough for anybody to be like, okay, something's not right. Let's investigate the matter.
Right.
But nobody has, and I got court coming up on the 17th, and I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I totally feel you too with this whole thing, because my mom was completely against me, took my child, the whole works, right? And total narcissist, every step of the way, made it like completely worse. I've got stacks and stacks of paperwork showing all the abuse that she did to me as a kid, and how I was a ward of the state at one point, and none of that mattered. They did not care, and I could not, to this day, wrap my head around what is she saying to them to get this all to happen and go her way. Like, I don't understand these people, and like exactly what you just said, like what the heck is going on here? How are they getting away with this crap?
I've been doing a lot of research on narcissists, and they will turn your family against you.
Yep.
They will say all this stuff, and they won't let up. Like, I mean, if you do something wrong to them, or for you standing up to them, or even try to out them or find out about them, forget it. It's like they go on a complete war, and they're just, the whole thing is to put you down, and for them to not lose control and be like, oh no, I control you now, and I'm gonna do this, and the way they manipulate people amazes me, because
right,
I've had my family members, I've had some of my family members that I haven't talked to in a year or two call me and say, hey, are you okay? Like, you don't sound right. Like, you need to go get that evaluation. I'm like, how do you even know about that? Like, I haven't even talked to you in about a year. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? And, it's just, she started calling all my family members, all my friends, everybody that she could talk to, and start telling them that I'm on drugs, and
sounds just like my mom. Yep.
And all this stuff, and everybody starts believing everybody, and I get calls and texts saying, hey, are you okay, or what's going on, or do you need help? And I'm like, no. And I try to tell them what's going on, and they're like, yeah, you sound like you need some help. And I'm like, okay, she just brainwashed them,
Yeah.
It's
the craziest part of it for me was that, like, my whole life, my mom would tell me that my dad's a narcissist, and how their therapist told her this, and she tried to tell me my daughter's a narcissist, and I honestly did not realize what a narcissist was until she retook my daughter again. And I came across this video of a psychologist who had been studying narcissism for like his entire career. And I was so terrified, because every single thing that he said was absolutely 100% what I was dealing with. And at the end of his little video, he said that it is so difficult to win when you are dealing with a narcissist. And even if you're 1,000% right, the chances are you're not going to win up against a narcissist. And that is so terrifying. And every day I keep hearing more and more of these stories where we're dealing with narcissists, and it's something that definitely needs to be brought to attention.
Oh yeah, it does. You should see the first time I saw, there's a very good expert on all this, and she posted a lot of videos. The first time I saw that video, I was just like, yeah, 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 she's done that. Yeah. I mean, everything she said, it was like to a T.
Yep.
And I was just blown away. So I started doing more and more research, and I'm like, yeah, she's done that. Yes, she does that. Yes, she did, and I'm like, now I'm thinking, has she been a narcissist this whole time? She got together with this guy because they were both narcissists. And so now that I found out about her and that I'm outing her and everything, she's like on the attack and trying to, make sure that nobody knows what's going on, that nobody knows, because she definitely plays the innocent, the victim. She's more of a covert narcissist, and plays the victim and tells everybody, oh, he's doing this, he's doing this. And when I was going over the text messages, I saw a lot of that. He did this and he did this, but she never said what she did, never said why. Like, all of a sudden I just act crazy, or we get in an argument because I just wanted to get in an argument one day. No, it's because you said this, or because you did this, or, and I'm not trying to blame everything on her. I mean, I've had my own faults. I mean, in any relationship, but for the most part, I'm thinking, okay, why doesn't she tell her family about what she did? Why doesn't she tell anybody or her friends? And that's how they get everybody against you, because they start telling them everything that you did, but they won't tell them what they did. And they make themselves out to be the victim, and they're the good ones and you're the bad one. And they convince everybody. And this whole tactic with the Band-Aid order is exactly just that. The CPS people knew that I was getting too close, that I was starting to make complaints, that I wanted to get clarification, that I wanted to get to go on. So they're like, okay, let's just say he's good to go, take him off our hands, whatever. But then the lawyers went and did this, and because she convinced them or convinced the judge. And see, they didn't even go to the judge that's actually handling our case. They went to a different judge. And that's what I just posted online. I'm like, man, that's got to be a violation of the, ethics that's involved with the bar association,
Yeah, I've heard of them doing that when they don't get the answer that they want from a certain judge, and so they'll go and take it to a different one to get their way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back for a second, you said that you always, or you a lot of the times would pick up your daughter from school, right?
Yeah.
So when they came back at you and said that CPS told you couldn't even pick your daughter up from school anymore, like, where the heck are they getting off saying that? Is it because CPS told you that you couldn't see her anymore at that point?
No, they didn't. And like I said, the things that narcissists do, well, before CPS, she had tried to block me because she went to the school and took the school fake court documents saying that, I was restricted and all this. They weren't even signed by the judge. So I couldn't go pick her up that day. And then I went to the courthouse and said, hey, there's nothing stopping me from seeing the judge or whatever. But when they dialed out, I don't know. I have reason to believe that they manipulated the principal and got him involved in it, because they do that. They'll manipulate whoever. And he's, at first, when I went over there and talked to him, he was very helpful and everything. But then little by little, he was more like, I don't have time for you, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, we're supposed to be here, like, trying to take care of my daughter. Oh no, sir, you need to take that up with the court, and you need to do this. And I'm like, okay, he is acting different now. Somebody's come in and gotten to him and manipulated him or something.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of information that's led to that's what's been going on. Because the last time I went, it takes me like 15 minutes before I could get a CPS agent, an actual CPS live worker on the phone. When I went to go pick up my daughter, the guy said, hold on, let me go call CPS and find out if it's okay. He comes back in like 5 minutes and says, no, they said you can't. And I'm like, that was quick.
Yeah.
I've never known, because you got to go through the prompts and everything when you call CPS. It's not like they just pick up an answer and say, hi, this is CPS.
Yeah.
So right away when that happened, and he was very, standoffish, and he hadn't acted that way with me before. And I noticed that that's the way that a lot of people that are affected by a narcissist act. Like they kind of take on that same personality. So yeah, so that's what's been going on.
And I just found out, like, I've always been pretty suspicious about the schools and their affiliation with CPS. But I have a friend who is head of the Department of Special Education at a high school, and 100% sure now I know that CPS is for sure giving the schools all kinds of incentives for calling, for making reports. They're even giving teachers meetings about like what to look for and like how to do it right or correctly, and to make sure that they get their bonus from it. Like, it's just sickening, really.
It is. And not too long ago, a few months before all this happened, they found 4 CPS workers here that were doing stuff they weren't doing stuff exactly like that, being corrupt, and they sentenced them to jail and stuff. I mean, so they all stick to each other. So if they are real and this is what's going on, they're really sticking to each other, because none of them ever returned my call. And I've called the regional supervisor, I've called the program director, I've called the supervisor to the supervisor to the supervisor. Nobody
can't reach anyone, right? I went through the same thing. I showed up at CPS several times. Could never ever talk to the investigative worker after we left the courthouse that day. They never told me that I couldn't come back, though. That's really messed up. I just could never get through to her again. And the latest social worker that I had to deal with, similar to what you were saying, like, she did not have any time at all. She kept looking at her watch while I'm telling her a serious like neglect and abuse that's going on, and she's looking at her watch telling me she has to go. She only been there for like 10-15 minutes, like, it's just so mind-blowing to me, like how many of the same things I keep hearing and going through myself. And like, when is it gonna stop? Like, like you said, like, they need to be getting arrested and like being accountable for their bullshit, because these kids are suffering because of it.
Exactly. And what I don't understand is why the state gives them so much power. I mean, they have the power to completely rip your kid out of your life without even doing a thorough investigation. After 15 minutes, I get my kid ripped out of my life. I haven't seen her in 3 months. I haven't hugged her. I haven't kissed her. I haven't held her hand. Nothing in 3 months, when I've been in her life every single day, just because this lady said, oh, you need to get a mental health evaluation, without even doing any kind of investigation, without even coming into my apartment, without even nothing, just talking to me for 15 minutes. When I said nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary, just talking about this guy. Boom. So they don't.
I had another lady on the show who was going through the same thing, and she lost her kids because of not doing the mental health evaluation with their doctors. She went to her own, and they told her that it was not good enough, and that she wasn't willing to admit any kind of abuse or whatever that was going on, because it wasn't going on. So they kept using that excuse as well, that she has to get a mental health evaluation, but only through their people who are going to do and say whatever CPS wants them to do and say, not one of your private doctors or whoever you go to, because hell, they don't want that answer. They want you to look crazy and whatever else they want you to look like.
Exactly.
It's nonsense.
And I mean, why can't you have your choice of where you want to go get a mental health evaluation? Why does it have to be there? because they know they already got somebody planted there that's going to say, oh, you know, yeah, he's to this or he's to that or she's to this or she's to that. So
Yep.
it's all about money. I mean, it's all about
That's
money. It's always
bingo.
always
Yep.
about.
That's what it comes down to. Exactly. Ragdoll was just saying that you need to hire an attorney and not talk to them at all. Do you have a private attorney on this, or is it just the public pretenders?
Well, now I do. I had been applying because what happened was I had been running my business. I'm self-employed. I've been running a business for 6 years, and it's been great. But up until this started 3 months ago, they hacked into my phone. They erased all my information, all my clients' information. All the phone numbers were blocked. I couldn't get any calls. I couldn't get any clients. I started losing tons of money. I didn't have enough for rent. And all this has been going on. And I'm trying to call a lawyer, and I'm trying to call, and I can't get through. And I go apply at Legal Aid, and I go apply at the Lawyers Association, and I go apply at this place and this place, and nobody calls me back. Nobody calls me back. But because I've been so persistent, I finally got through, and again, I'm still getting blocked, but I'm getting some messages through. So right before my court date, I have a consultation with my lawyer that I finally got. And so I have one day to tell him everything. Hopefully he sees this video, or that's another thing. That's why I'm posting everything, so that I could just be like, boom, go look on my page, and you'll see everything you need to know. That way I don't lose anything.
That you've done all that. I mean, really, you're really doing a lot, and that's awesome. All the steps that you're taking. I mean, really, really proud of you, because what you're doing, hitting up as many people as you can and making it known. And that's how to fight this, and unfortunately, somebody was just even saying, what do I do if I don't have a lawyer? Unfortunately, it's one of these situations where the courts will not take you seriously if you don't have a good private attorney. And even then, I'm in California, and they tried telling me that I wouldn't be able to hire my own private attorney because they have to be specially licensed to be in that courtroom, which was a complete lie. And that's what they were telling everyone. Of course, because everybody in the system works together. Everybody in that courtroom, they are all in on it together. The children's attorney, your public defender, the social worker's attorney, social worker, everybody's in on it together. They're all getting paid from the same people. So, of course, they don't have your best interest, and they get all kinds of bonuses for taking your kids away.
Yeah, exactly. My best advice would be to not give up, to make your voice heard, to go out there. Because I started calling these people every day, and I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to make some signs. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to protest. I'm going to go to City Hall. I'm going to go on every street corner, in front of every news station, until I get the answers I'm looking for. And you just got to be persistent. I never thought I would be on a show, and this is what I've been waiting for, to get, my story out there. And so when the opportunity came, and I thank you so much, because I started texting everybody.
Great advice.
Yeah, and it means a lot, because hopefully somebody, and eventually somebody's gonna see this, and somebody's gonna be like, hey, that doesn't sound right. Let's investigate this. I hope the judge is seeing this. I hope HPD is seeing this. I hope other investigators, or people that want to help, or people that have a good heart, want to be like, hey, this doesn't sound right. Let's do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
That's why it's really important to share your story, because you never know who's listening. I truly believe that there are people out there who are listening to the show, who can step in and help, or who have a similar story, and that this helps them in one way or another. So yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there anything you want to say? We have about 10 minutes left, but is there anything you want to say, like for your daughter if she ends up hearing this later, or any kind of advice that you want to give everyone that if you would have known sooner, you would have done different?
Well, in the beginning, when all this happened, I was pretty upset and distraught and furious, and that all this was going on, because it really is like, you're grieving because you don't have your daughter with you. When you're so used to being with her every day and playing with her and making crafts, and then she's gone, and you come home and you don't hear her, you don't see her.
There's nothing worse than dealing with that. I don't know if you know anything about my story, but my daughter ended up with my mom at 4 years old, and my mom made it like miserably hell for me to get her back right when the adoption stuff was done. And she literally, down to the week where they stopped giving her money, she begged me to come get my daughter. I had her here with me for over 2 years every day, and my daughter was so messed up because of having to deal with the abuse from my mom and everything. And then when the stimulus check came around and the child tax credit thing happened, boom, instantly my mom was trying to get her back, picked her up, took her down to Mexico, and took her to a mental hospital down there and left her there. And I haven't seen her in going on 8 months now. And there's nothing worse than not having your daughter with you when you've been with her every single day. And like, oh my God, like I can't even wrap my head around it. I sometimes don't even want to get out of bed in the morning because of it. Like, it's really, really traumatizing, like not only on the kids, but on yourself, on the parents. One thing that I have been doing to get me through it, like when I get super down, it was just Mother's Day and Father's Day coming up soon. And what I've been doing is I get my phone and I'll start making videos for her. And it's like a way for me to cope, I guess. And so when I do see her, I can show her all these videos and, that I wasn't doing anything without her. And so I don't know if you have like a way of coping that helps you, but that's something that I do that really helps. But
I didn't first, because when you go through this, it's, it's all over the place, and and I'm so sorry about what you're going through, but I feel you, I understand, and you get down to your lowest and you feel so horrible, and it's like somebody died in your family, like you're going through the grieving process.
Exactly.
So you go through like those 5 stages. And so what I started doing to kind of help me cope is that she's always liked to draw and paint and art. So I started building her like a whole art studio, and I'm getting it all ready. And I've just been praying a lot and going to church and just saying, she's going to come home. I'm getting the house ready for her. I'm getting everything ready for her. And I'm just having faith and just,
that's great.
Just thinking, it's got to be done. It's got to be like,
yeah, that is great. What you're doing is awesome. Yeah. So how is your relationship with your ex then?
Oh, she won't talk to me at all. She's completely, yeah. We've been in each other's lives. We even knew each other when we were kids, and we've been in each other's lives for the past nine, almost 10 years. And this is the first time she's ever acted that way. This is the first time that
because of the other dude that he's probably putting her in this state of mind.
Man, you need to see my post on Facebook. You'll see all the texts that I'm posting, all the emotional abuse, everything that he's just been laying on her every day, for the past 10 years. So part of me wants to believe that she's the victim, because I don't want to believe that she's capable of doing this stuff, because she's never acted this way.
Yeah.
And I just, want to get everybody help, and I want her to get help. And, you know, I pray for them every day. And I even pray for this man. And I'm just like, you need help. Like, you need, you know, like, I'm sorry that you didn't, you know, that you have to be afflicted with this illness, that you have to be this person, you know, because I wouldn't want to have that affliction. I wouldn't want to be like that with people, you know.
Right.
And it's just, I think it's just horrible because they are victims also. That's what it's a hard thing to accept, and it's a hard thing to understand, is that they're not in control of what they're doing themselves when they are truly narcissistic people. It's said that everybody has a little bit of narcissism in them, but I mean, this is like, you know, this is complete malignant narcissism, and it's toxic, and it hurts families, and it's abusive, and it destroys. And the court really needs to start opening their eyes to and paying attention to this stuff that happens, because if they can manipulate CPS, or they can manipulate an officer to come and arrest you, or they can, I mean, it's a problem, you know.
Yeah.
And they're just lying about it. Yeah.
And speaking of, you know, when they wouldn't, the CPS workers wouldn't show you their badges or IDs, that's really alarming. I know here in California, we had a couple of cases where a lady would show up at your door and somehow have your information and try to take your child from you. There was a case on the news a couple years back, and this mom answered the door. This woman somehow had all of her information saying that we're taking your child from you. You need to pack her bag right now. She asked to see a badge. Lady said no, turned around, walked away. So the woman called the police. She called CPS, and it turns out they had no affiliation at all. She was just some random lady trying to take her kid. And so, of course, like, if you ask for them to show ID, they are mandated to do so. So it is a scary thought that they did not do that.
I've not seen one ID or one badge, and I've asked them all. I've asked all of them. The supervisor said, "Can I go down there? Can I see your badge and ID?" No. Or they ignore my phone call, or they won't return my phone call.
I would make sure you record everything as well. Record everything.
I have been.
Good.
Well, I think now somebody's listening, somebody's investigating, because the hacking is a lot less now. I really thought that this was going to be disrupted. And my Facebook posts haven't been disrupted, but I'm still getting a little bit here and there. But in the beginning, it was nonstop. I could not, all my bank accounts were taken away. I couldn't log into anything. I couldn't log into my emails. I couldn't do anything at all. And they even found a way to shut my phone off, like, you know. And so it's just so crazy. It's just been so crazy. It's been crazy. I just hope this is over soon. And I thank you so much, because, you know, it looks like things might be getting better. And I hope that all this ends soon, and that people can see the truth and hear the truth and actually see me as a person, instead of just what they hear that's on a piece of paper, or what they hear coming from these other people's mouths, you know. And above everything else, I want this guy to be investigated, and I want my daughter out of that situation, and I want to see her.
Yeah, well, definitely keep us posted. I really want to know what happens. Obviously, this guy really does need to be investigated. It does not sound good at all.
No.
You know, somebody should be held accountable for all this crap that the kids are going through because of him, you know. And you're amazing for what you're doing, and keep up the good work. Like you were saying, it's one of the biggest mistakes lawyers and people in this industry see, is that they give up too soon. So don't give up. You're not alone. And anybody out there who's listening, going through something similar, don't give up. And yeah, your advice was great. And thank you so very much for coming on the show. Anybody else out there? I was reading some of the comments. If you guys want to share your story, I would love to hear it. Caesar, is there anything else before we go?
Nothing. I mean, just
Good.
they're your family. They're your son, daughter. You can't give up. You gotta get out there and have your voice heard. And doesn't matter how long it takes. Just keep trying. Keep trying. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to question anything. Don't be afraid to ask for information. Don't be afraid to go to the police. Don't be afraid of anything. Just keep doing it, because you need to get your kid back. You do. I need to get my kid back. I can't just let this go. Like, it's inside of me. I have to have my kid back.
Right.
She's my daughter. I love her.
Yeah,
I have to have
course.
her.
She
I'm
needs
not gonna
you,
ever let
Yeah. All right, Caesar, thank you so very much. This is Fight CPS with Sabrina, and I will see you guys all next week. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Bye, Caesar. Thank you.